Hey guys, welcome back to iNVision Prototypes. I'm Nick. Today we're back on the 40 Ford and we're going to do a little bit of cutting. What I mean by that is we're going to cut, sand, and polish this fender. Not sure if you can see from your couch, but we have a little bit of texture in the clear coat and we want to flatten it out just a little bit. We're not taking this down to a perfect mirror finish. We could, but this car is being built as a driver and you have to kind of draw the line somewhere. So we're going to take some 2000 grit and very carefully, very gently sand this down and then polish it and bring the shine back out. Now, as you can see, I've gone through and taped off the seams so none of the polishing compound gets in those cracks because it's a real pain to get out. You have to know exactly how thick your clear coat is because if you don't, you're going to cut through into the base and you're going to have troubles. You'll never be able to bring it back out. You have to re-clear it and start all over again. And we just want to take down the little bumps and I'll show you what I mean. Let's see if I can do it right here. So we have our surface, the body. And when we put the clear on, you get this slightly, I'm exaggerating, wavy, textured surface. For a perfect mirror finish, you go through and you knock off all those high spots. Just sand them down till you get to this level here. In our case, we're just going to bring it down just a little bit. Kind of give it a factory, well, some factory clear coats are really textured. I hear it's to give the car a golf ball effect. So it sails through the wind a little bit easier, saves on gas. All right, so I'm gonna show you what I got set up and then we'll go from there. I've got basically a sanding pad here that's soft on one side and hard on the other. And let's see here now, get some 2000 grit. Now this paper has been soaking in here for a long time. If you just took and ripped up some sheets of paper and started sanding, the edges of the paper are actually gonna cut deeper than the grit of the paper itself. We don't want that. We don't want to create more scratches because we have to go down further to remove them. We don't want to go too extreme. If you take 600 grit, you have to go down and take out all those 600 grit. I don't know why you want to use 600 grit, but you'd have to take out all those 600 grit scratches. So we're going to start with 2000, see where that takes us, and that should be all that we need. The clear coat, the paint job came out really well on this. Once we go ahead and sand the clear coat down to where we need to, then we're going to go ahead and use some 3000 grit on the DA and just pass it over. It helps take out the 2000 grit scratches. You can keep going up and up and up, 5000, 8000, whatever. Then we'll grab the polisher and I'll show you what's involved in polishing that shine back up. That was close. If you drop a piece of sandpaper, your rag, make sure you have plenty of rags, or your block, it's done. Don't go trying dipping it back in the pail and sanding with it because whatever's on the ground is going to end up in your paint job and it's going to make a disaster. So let us get some, okay, it's nice and soft and we're going to cover up the whole pad. There we go. I've got some water here and I'm just going to mist it over the surface. Okay. Not too complicated yet. We're going to sand in one direction. We're not going to do a crisscross pattern because once I go to the 3000, I'll see the 2000 grit scratches going in a particular direction and I'll know that I have to go through and give it a little bit more to reduce those 2000 grit scratches. So here we go. So I'm sanding in one direction and you can see this milky white substance here. That's clear coat. That's material coming off your body here. Not your body, but the car's body. Yeah, I know, some people don't like my jokes. Okay, we're not going crazy. Now let's see. I'm gonna bring you guys in and try and show you what's going on with the clear coat. You see how it's shiny up there? And this is kind of has a matte finish. But then you still do see some shiny low spots. While the surface is wet, you'll never see the true finish of what you're getting after you sand it. You have to let it, wipe it off, let it dry. Some guys use a squeegee. I find the squeegee has a tendency to leave scratches. So, and we're just taking it down nice and gentle. Come up to the edge. I've got the paper overhanging the pad just a little bit so that kind of rolls up. You don't want to create a sharp edge along the masking tape. And Down here it looks really sweet, so I'm not going to put much more effort into that. It's going to be kind of a challenge to get in there. Cutting pad, the polishing pad, it does take material off as well. So we have to take that into account when we're doing the whole process. So stop when you're happy. We're going to go through and sand this area here. Then we'll switch over and bring that shine back out. If I didn't tape these areas, we'd get that water and white residue getting stuck in between the joints. I don't want that. Now, some guys like to use a DA with whatever texture or grit of paper on there. I like to have the control of actually sanding the fender in the direction of the reflection lines. So when we were blocking all this out, we'd block it out this way. When we were painting it, we'd shoot it this way. And when we're doing the final cut and polish, I'm again sanding in the direction of the reflections. Just keep adding a little bit of water. And what the water does, it washes the residue from under the paper. It doesn't plug the paper up. That's feeling really good. You can add a little bit of dish soap into your spray bottle, and that'll help reduce a little bit of friction. But then I kind of like to feel the surface tension of the sandpaper on the body panel. Then I know when it's cutting and when it's not cutting. Now I'm not going up to the edge again, I'm staying away from that about 1/2 inch or so. Just by feel, you can feel the surface kind of sticking to the paper a little more because it's getting flatter. If you end up with any dust in your surface, this will help take care of it. If there's a lot of dust, well, then you have to get a little more aggressive, either nib it out, or I don't want to get into that because it's a whole different process. And if I don't explain it correctly, I'm going to get heard about it in the comments. So all we're doing today is doing a simple cut and polish just to smooth out the surface. And I think we're going to stop right there because that's looking good. Looks good now. I'm saying it looks good. I'm going to give that a few minutes and let that dry. And then we're going to go ahead and check it out. While this is drying, I'm going to flip over to the front area, go around the headlight. And again, you can't see it from your area, but I've taped off the headlight just so we don't get any compound into that or residue into that. You don't want to rush this process. It takes as long as it needs to get to where you want to go. If you power through it, put your elbow grease into it and bear down on the sandpaper, there's a pretty good chance you will rub through on a corner, on an edge, or whatever. See, that's drying and it's looking really, really good. Now we give this a few minutes, let this moisture kind of evaporate, and take a look at it, see if we have to touch anything up. If I'm happy with it, then we go ahead to the next stage, 3000 grit, and go over everything with 3000. And there we have it. I didn't go all the way into the corner here, but that's as flat as I want to take this. Next step, 3000 grit. As with all the other paper, we've been soaking the 3000 grit pad, and I'm putting it on a soft pad on the DA. There's a hard pad under here, hook and loop, and then I've got a soft hook and loop pad on top of that. If we just stuck it on there, we'd get flat spots in our finish. This gives a nice cushion and it'll just glide over top. So there we are. That pad's stuck on. We don't want it coming off. That's all we're going to do. Now, so we don't spray everything because this is kind of wet, we're going to take and spin it in the pail. Now we can kind of give the surface a small spray of water and kind of start sanding it out. And again, you can see the kind of milky texture. That means you're cutting material off the clear coat. So you gotta keep moving, don't stop in one spot. After going over 3,000, you can see the shine starting to come up, but it's still 3,000 grit, so it's not shiny like that up there. So that's where we have to take the polisher and start bringing that shine up. I looked over everything and made sure that we don't have any visible 2,000 grit scratches. You might see something when we actually start polishing that, and I'll have to back up and address that. But for now, let's keep going. Polishing pads come in different colors: yellow, orange, white, black, so on. Yellow is pretty aggressive, and I'm gonna start with that first, move up to the orange one. Orange is kind of a finishing, and then I think there's a white or black that's the absolute like final buffing and whatever. That'll be done later. So with your pad, you wanna make sure that it's obviously clean, hasn't been contaminated. If there's any polishing residue in it, make sure you scratch, like clean it out, rub it out, and then take and wring the pad out. Because the first time you spin this, you could get a surprise. All right, so still a bit of moisture in there. I'll show you how to get the rest of that out. So, even though they look the same, you don't want to use an angle grinder. This is a variable speed polisher. It goes up to 6,000 RPM. And the key is slow and steady. We want to run it nice and slow on the body and just gently cut bring the shine up. So there's still some moisture in this pad. You can probably see it dripping out. What we're going to do is in the pail, we're going to give it a spin, just like with the orbital, kind of get that moisture out in the pail. Woohoo, see? Lots of water. So now that it's good and dry, there's no moisture on it, we'll turn to our more aggressive compound and just put 3 or 4 dollops on the pad. Come on. Similar to that, just kind of rub them out. Okay. Now this is where you really got to take your time, especially if you've never done this before. So stay away from the corners, get a good grip on your variable speed polisher. If this thing comes out of your hands, rolls over, you got to go right back to the beginning and repair the damage. So here we go. Nice and slow, slowest speed. Not sure if you can see, but we're starting to get a little bit of shine coming up. Not as much as those areas there, but it's starting to come up. We're still pretty aggressive with the yellow pad. Here we go. And again, I'm polishing in the direction of the body line, the flow of the body line. I will go this way a little bit, but for the most part, I want to eliminate swirls and have a nice consistent surface. Like, look at that, it's just jumping right out. It's not perfectly flat, but it's where we want it to be. The more you sand, the flatter it'll get, but then remember, you could cut through your clear coat because it is thin. Even though you have several coats on there, you can cut through it. A factory finish is very thin, so you should get a little gauge and measure it and make sure thickness before you get into that. See that? A little bit of compound goes a long way. And we could leave it at that, but we're going to go one step further with the orange pad and really bring the shine out. Now you see the compound on the pad still there. We'll add a little bit of water on the fender. That's all you need. And we'll kind of work that in. Now, I don't want to take and run, this rotates clockwise. I don't want to roll up into the tape and peel it off. I want the pad to roll down into the panel. This is where it gets tricky. See that grab like that? That means we're a little dry. Now I did say that you want to go away from the tape, but because this area is a little bit small, I'm just using the very pinpoint of the pad to get in there. It's looking good. So work a small area first, get the hang of it, and then expand out. Like I was going over the entire pad or the entire fender with the pad, but just work a small area first, get the feel of it, sand it down, bring the shine up, and you should be quite happy with the results. And biggest thing, take your time, don't rush it. All right, so let's step up the orange pad. That's the orange one. It's a little bit more fine, if you will. And now we can go ahead and load it up with the next stage of compound. And again, you don't need much. Let's go with 3 dollops. Come on. The size of a dime. There we go. You don't want to spin this and have it spray the entire car. Okay. Not too bad, right? Here we go. In terms of speed, you want it about 1,000, 1,200, no more than 15. Just keep it slow. show you the difference between what the yellow pad does and what the orange pad just did. And when you run this pad, you're technically melting. You're warming up the clear and you're actually melting it as well. So you're taking material off, melting it, allowing it to flow in, and that's looking pretty good. So let's bring you guys in closer, show you what's happening between here and the yellow pad up there. Okay, you can kind of see it right here. Now there is a bit of texture yet, and that's where we want to leave it. But you see the haze right up in here, kind of dull looking? That's what the yellow pad kind of leaves behind, a bit of a haze. See, this corner here, I'm moving away from the corner. I'm not going into it. And I've got my hand between the handle. I can take this thing off if I want to, but I feel I have more control. Sometimes I do take it off, but basically a cushion between the handle and the paint. Okay, I don't see any scratches, 2000 grit scratches, so they're all gone. That's all she wrote, guys. I'm really happy as to how that came out. The reflection lines look good, and we have no hazing. Like, to tell if you have hazing, sometimes you can't tell by looking straight on. You have to kind of look from an angle, kind of look off to the side, and look past the panel, and you'll see it at that point. I'm not going to bother untaping this. We still have the roof to finish and the trunk to finish and the other side to finish. A lot more to go, but I just wanted to show you what goes into basically cutting and polishing a clear-coated part, your car, your fender, whatever you're doing. And at the end of the day, I got a little bit of splatter on me there, but I think that was just from wringing out the pad. My shirt didn't get covered with the overspray. So that's it. If you have any comments or questions, put them down below, and hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helps you out. Take care, guys.